Hey, everybody, it's Barry Kleiman back in bringing this next segment of the program I built called Winning the Fifth Quarter. Yesterday, or the preceding segment, I opened the entire program with a segment from Daymond John called Rise and Grind. I have nothing but, pardon me, tremendous respect, for Daymond, always been able to accomplish in his life. I think he's a very cool guy. I'd love to meet him someday. But also, I was trying to use the story of Daymond, the completely authentic story of Daymond, to explain um, the importance of having a vision for what you want to happen. Um, Steve Jobs talked about it in his famous speech to the Stanford graduating class. Stephen Covey talks about it, more often, as often as anybody I've ever read, begin with the end in mind. Um, you know, I spoke about Daymond's company, FUBU, for us, by us, and this program being for you, by you. I am not here to tell anybody, once again, what to be when they grow up, but this program, this course, Winning the Fifth Quarter, is really to help you have a framework from which you can build a house that you want to live in, not a house that anybody you think you should have for anybody else or to impress everybody else, but a house that you actually want to live in for your own reasons. Again, what do you want to happen? So we talked about that quite a bit, and I want to now add one more level to that. Today, we started this quote with this quote from Dr. King. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just the first step. So this segment is a lot about clarity. Daymond had it. He knew what he wanted to happen. Webster defines clarity as Merriam-Webster dictionary, something like the quality of being easily understood. In this case, you understanding you. Again, for you, by you. During the segments of this program, all throughout the modules, I use the word clarity quite a bit in the title of some of the modules. But the entire program is going to fail. It will be a failure to you, and of course, as I put it together, I'll fail in your eyes if you don't walk away from this whole thing. Um, the program with a level of clarity that you've never had before. That's my goal, is to help you gain it. Again, I'm not filling in the blanks for you. I want you to grab a notebook. I want you to do the writing. I'm just going to ask the questions and provide some examples and stories like I'm doing right now. So I want you to walk away from this with a level of clarity you've never had before about yourself. Again, like Daymond, what's genuinely possible for you? Genuinely possible for you. Clarity to know what that is, or all the steps of it. You're not going to necessarily see the end, but with clarity, you gain the first step, right? The point, to Dr. King's point. And when you have it, you get a renewed sense of confidence. You have a direction. Again, first step, clarity. Make the next step much more clear, the next step much more clear. You can wing it, and sometimes we do have to wing it, but to have a vision of what you want to happen and see the next best action. I talked about this before, the first step, and then you'll see the next step. So anyway, that's what this quick segment's about. As it relates to clarity, I just want to make sure that I've explained this to you uh, as it relates to the title of the program. So winning, what does winning mean? The program's called Winning the Fifth Quarter. So winning, we all know. We've already said this book is for you, by you. So winning is you gaining an outcome that you judge better, far better, hopefully, than your current reality. That would be winning, right? You would be ahead of where you are now. It's winning is not a destination. Maybe in a game it is, but we're always, hopefully, always evolving, right? So winning is trying to understand what would help you, again, have an outcome in any action you take that would be better beyond where you are now. So winning the fifth quarter. What's the fifth quarter? It's a term that it came into my head. Um, using, the traditional athletic contest form, which is often broken into four quarters, not always, but often. Um, the fifth quarter is really, you know, a, um, a way to explain that game's not over till you say it's over, right? This is a fifth quarter. You can have it if you want it. I said this yesterday. It's here for you if you want it. You have to use it. And the way I get for you to use it is to gain clarity about the next steps you take, so you're not just grinding out on the same mill over and over again. Again, Dr. Covey says putting a ladder up against the wall to find out it's up against the wrong wall. That's not the right quote, but uh, most people spend their whole life trying to climb the ladder of success only to find it's up against the wrong wall. The point of this fifth quarter, this renewed time on the clock, is to gain greater clarity so you don't keep putting that ladder up against the wrong wall. Um, I wasn't the greatest student back in my college days, but um, with people like Daymond in my life, and learning from these people that I call giants, I did my level best to rise above some of the crappy grades I got in school. School never really grabbed me and interested me, but I'm fortunate, and I've gone broke. I'll tell that story along the way too. But what I've learned along the way is if you are open to tutoring and mentorship, and again, what I've learned is expression I'll talk about too, called "stands on the shoulders of giants." Learn from people who have had some success. Um, you'll see further. So yeah, I mean that's it, right? So these are the points that I hope to get across from you before we delve into the content, which I know is it'll be dense and it'll be challenging, and um, I actually have deemed that this program is for competitors only. You can't be scared of the word competitors, and competitors, frankly, is, despite what so many people think, it's not me beating you, it's you beating you. You have to be willing to compete with yourself to again to get an outcome greater than the one you have. It does not mean stepping on somebody's neck. It does not mean somebody goes down is the only way you can go up. No, there's, I believe in, Dr. Covey taught, the abundance mentality. There's plenty to go around. So you have to compete with yourself as opposed to um, wanting what somebody else has, or having to off somebody, or have somebody lose before you win. That's not the point. Certainly of this program. Um, so you always want to be operating again, competing against yourself, and these are things that I've learned from giants. So um, I'll close this simply by saying this, and I'm going to get into this in depth in the next module. But you have to start, to Dr. King's words, tiny, right? You're not going to just sit down and bench press 500 pounds, or do 500 sit ups or push ups or whatever it is. You start one at a time. People get scared of that. But, tiny is the way. Dr. King has pointed that out in the beginning in this quote. Tiny helps a ton. Tiny getting good at fundamentals, the little things that nobody sees until all of a sudden you build one on top of the other and top of the other. Um, and we're going to talk a lot more about being clear about what tiny means and how it will help you. I think I have a quote written here. It says, I try to do the right thing at the right time. They may just be little things, but usually they make the difference between winning and losing. That's from none other than Kareem Abdul Jabbar. Talking about little things, talking about tiny. So the next segment is all about developing tiny habits, again, these fundamentals, so we can work into bigger pictures. So rise and grind, be willing to compete with yourself, have a you keep working on the level of clarity that you need to get to. What do you want to happen? And trust yourself, of course, along the way. Grab a notebook and keep making notes. You'll be so pleased you did. You'll thank me. I promise you'll thank me if you use what's in your head and get it on a piece of paper. So next up, we've talked about clarity. We've talked about competing. We've talked about rising and grinding. We've talked about this is for you, by you. Next up, we'll get you into a little more fundamental concept of how to gain clarity through little tiny habits. Hope this helps everybody. Looking forward to it. Thank you.